Hello, everybody. My name is Luca Giovenzana, and I work at Chile, an Italian streaming company. It's more or less like Netflix, but Italian. And today I'm gonna tell you a story about how I managed to become, by accident actually, the request library maintainer.
Like in all the good stories, everything starts with once upon a time. In the old day of the President Hotel in Helsinki, me and Angelo, during the RoboCon 2019, we have been hacking the request sessions mechanism in order to play with our test suite and create the core keywords for handling sessions of all the API tests. But during this hacking, we had some issues. We were struggling with logging problems, very tricky problems with headers, and for this reason, we end up creating our own repository. So we did the fork of the original request library. Little by little, we realized that all the work that we were doing might have been useful for other people of the community. And we started with a pull request in March. That was the first of several others pull requests that actually got ignored for some times. Finally, I've been able to contact the owner of the repository that gave me access to write in the repository. And after some times, since I was doing many pull requests and a lot of job, asked me to maintain a library. And of course, I was very happy to do that. It was September when RequestsLibrary got his first release after 2 years of nothing.
So keep going on what was in the 0.6 and what actually we were working on. One of the things that was useful for us that since we had a lot of failure due to overloaded backend, and we implemented a retry mechanism that I will show you quickly. So in the create session, all the create session keywords, we added these parameters that allows you to specify one status or multiple status where the library should try again. In our case, we had some 403, so service unavailable because of the load due to the load, and we didn't want to have the test suite to randomly fail, and we wanted to retry immediately. And you can specify, of course, a backup factor and maximum number of retries. This was actually already implemented. This could be a quite useful feature. But in the other major problem that we faced, and that actually is the core of all the refactor and all the new version that we implemented on request is fail on status error. Basically, we wanted to have the keywords to fail in case an HTTP error is returned. Why? I will show you immediately what we were facing and struggling with. Let's open this RobotFramework log, and we will see a failure. We will start looking at the failure, and we will see, okay, dictionary does not contain key title. Not really self-explanatory. What is failing here? So it's not finding something in a dictionary, but okay, looking at the assert of the post request, it's fine. Post request, it's fine. But let's see this variable. The variable is empty. Here we have a 404. That's the reason. But as you can see, this is quite simple fake test, but you might have multiple steps. You always have to do like this. So starting from the bottom, and start analyzing all the keywords before. It's not really immediate what is the problem. Another problem is actually even worse. When you have something that is failing, but isn't everything, it's fine. on your logs, or failing or doing something different. As you can see, this is 404, response is empty, but there is no failure. And we never discovered that this mechanism of getting the body is not taking some of the data that we expected to be there. So, solution, let me spoil the new keywords of the 0.8, which is get on session. Of course, if I change here and here, I will have an immediately more clear output. Okay, so what happened is that we attended the RoboCon 2020, and we were talking with people, with Pekka, that actually suggested me to implement a fire and forget request, like get without creating a session before, some other ideas, but little by little, analyzing the code, I were struggling with the fact that the library was a patchwork of different pull requests and with not a real clean design for medium long term. So I tried to fix, created new version with small fixes. I started to change here and there, but it was clear that a more radical approach was needed because there were many problems of the current implementation. So what I did was defining and putting together all the feedbacks in order to prepare a completely new structure that I will show here. So this is the issue that I created on GitHub with all the idea, and basically I wanted to categorize in three categories the requests keywords. Standard request on existing session, that was the same. There are the same already existing in the 0.7 and previous, but with the different parameters because parameters were inconsistent between different keywords, and not all the original library parameters were mapped in the request libraries for RobotFramework. The other thing that we introduce is the fail, the implicit, what we call the implicit assert. So you can specify here the status code that you want to verify or not. If you don't specify anything, by default it will fail, as said, with the fail on error mechanism. The other kind of categories are sessionless, as I said. So I wanted to just get with the same behavior, default behavior. And the other one is more generic, that has not been implemented yet, request that accept as argument the method of the HTTP, so get, post, whatever. Okay, so let's see a little bit how we implemented the implicit assert that, as you can see, has been included finally in the 0.8 alpha, starting from 0.8 alpha. We merged the two forks and we get rid of it. So now we don't have anything else custom on our library, and everything is mainstream, and we will keep going. We can see quickly an example and some best practices on how to use this. So as you can see here, and also we have seen in the documentation, you can specify an expected status, 200 or whatever, but you can also specify OK or bad gateway, and automatically the library will map to the right status if you use some default reasons for the failure. And you can also assert on specific errors, like in this case. So let's say you have a keyword that you want to test a failure on the authentication. You can call run keyword and expect error, and this is the kind of error you will get. Okay, those are some best practices and common pitfalls, and let's arrived to the final part of this story, where we have finally released some weeks ago the 0.9 alpha. The 0.9 alpha, as you can see from the picture, since we revisited all the structure, was quite easy to implement this new feature that is nothing else that sessionless keywords. And we can see from the README of the project, you can already install the Alpha 2 version with --pre that allows pip to install also pre-releases. And this is what you can do. So get with nothing and playing with your requests and your APIs. Of course, there's not only get, but all the methods, and there is the documentation already available. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this talk about RequestsLibrary. And please give me feedbacks about the changes that I introduced. If you have feature requests or whatever, please don't hesitate in contact me, because I really want feedback to keep going and to develop something that is useful for the community. Thank you. Bye.
Hey, Luca, welcome to RoboCon.
Hello, Joe. It's a pleasure being here.
Awesome to have you. So let's just jump right into it and get some of the questions folks have. Jagan wants to know, an easy approach available instead of creating sessions every time for every test case, or actually said any easy approach available instead of creating sessions every time for every test case, something like create a session and reuse it any number of times.
Okay, I think that in the final part of my presentation, I've explained how to get rid of the session with the 0.9 version. So you can just have fire forget requests, so that the session is not really needed. But you can always set up a session and reuse it at the beginning of the test suite. So that could be an option. It really depends when you need to use a session or not. That it might be useful for performance, or maybe to reuse in different requests the same headers or for authentication. In that case, it can be very useful to have a shared session.
Perfect. Next question is from Tristan. They want to know, how can you deal with dynamic JSON schema with post request? Does the new version of the request library, can it generate JSON to feed automatically in report file in Excel?
Not sure to have understood properly the question. By the way, as dynamic, the request library doesn't really nothing on the JSON except to encode it. So if you pass a variable, a dictionary normally to the library, it will be just posted over the network, and the library doesn't really care how you generate the JSON. You can read from an external file on the disk, or you can make up by creating a variable with the dictionaries, or you can use a JSON schema or any other option that you have to get the JSON on a robot framework or Python and use it.
Great. Next question is, can I use the library for HTTPX requests?
Of HTTPS, yes,
HTTPX,
of course. X.
Yeah.
I don't know, actually. Let's say that the request library for Robot Frameworks is just a wrapper of Python requests, so that everything that is supported by that library can be used as well. And in the refactor, I mentioned it during the talk, I was very focused on removing everything that was not really useful, and any parsing or manipulation of the data, so that the library could be lean as possible, and just being something for the user to communicate to your server. So there's no manipulation of the data. So whatever you pass in as the body, it will be passed right through the network, and exactly like the original Python request does. So you can check it out on requests Python request website documentation, anything. Also, the parameters of the methods. I use the keywords so that you can pass everything that is supported for the RequestsLibrary, and even for the future. So even if at the moment is not existing a specific parameter, but will be supported, the library is just like a proxy, so it will be transparent as much as possible.
Great. So next question is, when will the GET request and POST request keywords be deprecated? What is the release date?
I'd like to finish with the plan that I shown in the talk. So adding the last category request with a parameter for every HTTP verb. That will be the 1.0. And after 1.0, I think I will stop supporting the old library, so the old keywords, the deprecated ones, but not in a hurry to remove those actually. And if you have any problems, I tried just to keep also older version supported. So I understand that there are many people using this library, so I don't want to any breaking change. I know it's a pain, but was needed actually.
So I guess kind of along the way about how to refactor is Ken wants to know get on session, post on session, X on session, etc. will be deprecated in the future. Should we refactor our code to get, post, etc.?
No, there are no plans to deprecate again other keywords, but as you wish. I mean, I think it could be useful to have a shared session and not to replicate every time the URL. But the new categories are just different options for you to work, to create your tests. They are not meant to be an evolution one after the other. So those three categories, I think they will stay forever, and you can feel free to use a sessionless or session keywords as you wish.
All right, so we're running out of time. So two quick ones. Ken wants to know,
Okay.
Are you planning to add more verbose logging to request responses in the future?
Sorry, could you repeat what I should add?
Are you planning to add more verbose logging to request responses in the future? I guess more information in the logging when you do the
in logging. Sorry, in logging. Yes. I also deprecated the JSON to JSON keyword because actually it was not really needed to encode in JSON and pass to the library. But one of the nice feature of the to JSON was the pretty print in the logs. So I would really like to implement a pretty print logging inside the HTML together with other parsing and logging for HTML maybe and other stuff. Yes, definitely.
Great. Where can you find the RequestsLibrary project?
Of course, in GitHub under Market Square. That it's an organization for all the community supported RobotFramework libraries. So you can find it there, or from the website, official website of RobotFramework. If you find libraries for HTTP requests, you will get the links.
Okay, next one, last one, and I don't know if you can answer really quickly. Is from Dinesh.
Yep.
How does the RequestsLibrary compare with REST instance? When would you use which?
REST instance is more for testing a REST API. I know actually the person that created the library that actually gave me the access also to this library. So different purpose. Request is more generic. REST instance is more specific for REST testing. I don't know how much is maintained at the moment, but That's it.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Luca. Really appreciate it. And
you're welcome.
We'll definitely check you out in the speaker lounge in the RoboCon venue. Awesome. Thanks so much.
We will find them.
Sweet.
Bye.
All right. Cheers. Thanks again.